What mission? What are you talking about?
Help me. You're my only hope.
Jarvis, you there?
At your service, sir.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the Starkside. While you're here, please support the channel by hitting the like button. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe as well as the notification bell. Today we'll be talking about the Marvel Legends Infinity Saga Iron Man movies, Iron Man Mark III. Here we have the Iron Man Mark III in this new packaging for the Infinity Saga line. Here at the front it says the Infinity Saga, and below it there's a label for the Iron Man Mark III. And here at the bottom right corner we get the A for the Avengers logo. And here at the upper left we have the logo for the Iron Man movie. At the top, there's another logo of the Iron Man movie and another label for the Iron Man Mark III. Here at the side we're getting some images of some of the heroes that appear throughout the Infinity Saga. And at the other side, we get another image of the heroes. This time, this one includes Iron Man. And at the back, there's a nice image of the movie poster for Iron Man. And a brief bio of the character. If you want to read that, you can pause the video. And that's it. Alright, let's get the Iron Man Mark III out of the packaging.
Jarvis, drop my needle.
And here we have the Iron Man Mark III. Now before we talk about the figure itself, let's go over the accessories. Besides an alternate Iron Man head sculpt, this figure comes with 2 pairs of alternate hands and some gauntlet accessories. Taking a closer look at this fisted hands, they're sculpted nicely. Nice red paint apps. At first, I thought these were just the same fisted hands as those that came with the Mark VII figure. But they're different. The same goes for these open repulsor hands. They're not the same as those that came with the Mark VII. And if you actually try to port in the Mark VII hands, they do not fit in perfectly. And I don't want to try and force it because the peg might break when I try to remove it. And what annoys me is that Hasbro didn't put in a peg hole for some repulsor blast effects here. I mean, I don't think that's a difficult thing to do. And they're also not articulated. So what's up with that, Hasbro? Moving on, changing the hands on this figure is easy. Just pop this off and port in the other one. Now let's go over the gauntlet accessories that he comes with. This first one is just a normal red piece used to cover up this peg hole when Iron Man isn't using any of his gauntlet weapons. And porting it in is very easy, like so. This next one is his micro missile launcher. Now we can recreate that scene in the movie where he uses it to destroy a tank. Porting it in is very easy as well, like so. And this last piece, I'm not actually sure what it's called, but I do know that this is a piece that Tony Stark used to block Ironmonger's gunshots towards the end of the movie. And porting it in is very easy, but it's actually a bit difficult if you want to try to recreate that scene from the movie, because there's no rotation here at the elbow, so that's a bit of a bummer. And just to add, I also wished Hasbro included some repulsor blast effects, which usually come with every Iron Man figure. Just a very brief history on this particular armor. So this Mark III is the 3rd armor that Tony Stark created in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is also his first armor to incorporate the classic red and gold scheme. And this figure looks very awesome. It is definitely a huge upgrade to the old Hasbro Mark III that we got back in 2008. Truly an upgrade. Starting with the head sculpts, I love this first head sculpt that we got here, where his faceplate is up. It doesn't look like 100% Robert Downey Jr. though, but I still think it looks like a very decent Tony Stark head sculpt. The paint apps here in the face are very clean, as well as here all around the helmet. I like this gunmetal gray that we get here in the jaw area. It looks good. Nice gold here on the faceplate as well. That looks very clean. Nice red paint apps. I like this shade of red that they used. I think it's perfect. And switching it up with the alternate head sculpt is not actually as easy as it looks. Popping it off is easy, but when you put this alternate head sculpt, it doesn't feel like it's ported in properly all the way. But it's actually in. And this head sculpt looks awesome. It definitely looks better than the helmet on the previous Mark III. That one looks a bit squashed in from one side. At first, I thought this was just the same head sculpt as that of the Mark 7, but yeah, it is a different and a new sculpt. The subtle differences might not be obvious at first, but yeah, it's definitely a new one. The gold we're getting here is clean and shiny. This is actually one of the things that I'm scared of when ordering an Iron Man figure, because sometimes there's some QC issues with the paint apps. So yeah, I'm very thankful that this didn't happen with me. I like that there's a black paint here in the lining and the facial slit. Yep, I like that. That's very good. Nice red paint. Yep, this helmet is sculpted very nicely. However, I do wish they put in some blue in the eyes to make it look more realistic. They did that for the Mark 7, so I don't really see why they couldn't make that happen for this one. Looking at the rest of the body, this is sculpted very, very nicely. This looks really good. Compared with the previous Mark III, the scale and proportions here on this new figure are much, much better. Wow. I like that they painted the gunmetal gray here on the gears near his neck. That's good because it makes the details pop even more. They even painted the screws here. Nice red paint. Yep, this shade of red definitely looks good. It's similar to the shade of red that we got for the Mark 7. I love that they also added the blue here on his arc reactor. So I reiterate, why couldn't they do that for the eyes? Nice sculpt here on the arms as well. It's painted very nicely. No paint chipping so far. That's good. I also noticed something new and different with the shoulder pads here. The previous Iron Man figures, the shoulder pads are actually connected to the main torso of the figure. But here, instead of being connected to the torso, I think it's connected here somewhere in the shoulders instead. Which is great because it doesn't hinder the shoulder rotation that way. Yeah, good one, Hasbro. Looking at the back of the figure, yep, Hasbro has been putting a lot of thought into painting the back of their figures lately. Yeah, if you can see here, the screws are painted like in the front. I like that. Looking at the legs, now wow, this looks very great. Very clean paint apps so far. Nice red and gold. And here the boots, yep, I love the size of his boots here. Some of the previous Iron Man figures have slightly smaller boots, so yeah, I think this one has finally the right size. And yep, nice detail at the bottom as well. Very beautiful. Hasbro did use pinless technology here, but I also love that they incorporated some screws here in the joint areas, so it makes it look more realistic. Overall, I think the sculpt and paint apps on this Mark III figure are amazing. Let's go over the articulation. Iron Man can look up that far, that looks good, and he can look down as well. His head can rotate. There's some forward backward shifting motion, and there's some nice neck pivot here as well. Yeah, that looks very good. His arms can move upward that far, a little over the 90-degree mark, and can move down all the way as well. And because of that new shoulder pad thing, his shoulders can rotate 360. He has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Yeah, that looks very good. His wrist can rotate and move up and down, although not so much upward because of this piece of his gauntlet that's hindering that movement. He also has this diaphragm pivot that allows him to bend forward that far and backward as well. No waist swivel though. His legs can move upward very far. Yeah, that looks very good. And he can also move backward. Yeah, that looks very nice. His hips move outward very far as well. He has a thigh swivel. Double jointed knees that bend in all the way. His ankles do move up and down as well. He also has some ankle rotation. And he also has ankle pivot. And just another thing to note, you can also pull his leg downward to make some room here at this area. So yeah, that's very great. The articulation on this figure is so good. As you can see, he can do this cool superhero landing pose. Now for some figure comparisons. Here's the Iron Man Mark III with the previous Mark III from the Iron Man movie line in 2008. And yep, it is definitely an upgrade. And here's the Mark III next to some old MCU Iron Man figures that Hasbro released. We have the Mark 1, Mark 42, Mark 43, and Mark 46. And yep, Hasbro definitely needs to re-release these older Iron Man figures using some updated sculpt and scale. I actually just did a video on my Iron Man armor collection, so I'll add a card here if you want to check that out. And here's the Mark III next to some recent MCU Iron Man figures that Hasbro released. We have the Mark 7, Mark 50, and Mark 85. I actually just did a review on the Iron Man Mark 85 here, so I'll add a card here if you want to check that out as well. And because the helmet design on the Mark III and Mark 7 are very similar, I want to try this visor up Tony Stark head sculpt on this Mark 7. It doesn't really look that good, the neck is a little too high. And if you have the Tony Stark head sculpts from the new Mark 85, you can also try them on this Mark III. And yep, I think it works perfectly. You can also try the Mark 7 head on this Mark III body, and I think it works perfectly. It just sits here on the neck peg though, but yeah, I think it looks really good. So that's my review of the Infinity Saga Iron Man movie Iron Man Mark III. I think this figure is beautiful. I love the sculpt, paint apps, and the articulation on this figure. Most of the accessories are great, but I wish they did more with the open repulsor hands, and they could have also included some repulsor blast effects. And also, big thanks to One Dragon for getting me this Mark III figure. Be sure to check out his channel and Instagram. He has great videos, great content. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of this figure. Let me know what you think of my review. And if you like this video, hit that like button. And if you still haven't, hit that subscribe as well as the notification bell. You can also follow me on social media, links in the description below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.